Good Tuesday afternoon, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to the I Love CVille Show. Thank you kindly for joining us. We love connecting with you guys through the I Love CVille Network. We're live in Charlottesville, across Central Virginia, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world. Of course, on the I Love CVille Network, we're presented by Skooma Boutique Dispensary, the newest dispensary to open in the city of Charlottesville. It's located next to Rapture on the downtown mall. David and his team at Skooma Boutique Dispensary have certificates of analyses for everything in the store. Scott Wagner of Scott Wagner Integrated Medicine, one of the fantastic partners of this show and this network. Interstate Service Company, Charlottesville Remodeling Company, Animal Connection, Ting Fiber Internet, Skooma Boutique Dispensary, Dominion Custom Homes. We're fortunate to work with some of the best. A lot to cover on the program. You, the viewer and listener, can participate in the discussion and dictate the pace and tempo of the show by offering your perspective in the comments section of any and all social media platforms you're watching upon. Give me your thoughts. Give me your feedback. Here's some of the topics we will cover today on the Tuesday, October 19th edition of the I Love CVille Show. Folks, the Princeton Review has released its rankings of the best return on investment universities and colleges in America. I will let you know where the Princeton Review ranked the University of Virginia right here in Charlottesville, how this will impact the Charlottesville and Central Virginia ecosystem moving forward, another national accolade for our community, and what it means for high schoolers as they make one of the most difficult decisions of their lives to that point, where to go to college. I think it's also important to ask the question, is college education worth it and the path for me? Especially as trade schools and tradesmen and women become even more well-paid than ever before. That topic in a matter of moments. Moe's Barbecue on Water Street, unfortunately, has closed. We'll take a deep dive into why we thought Moe's Barbecue on Water Street has shut their doors. Fantastic couple behind that location, what to expect from that location moving forward, and we'll then sidestep and ask the question, what are the toughest spots for restaurants in our town? Why has Draft Taproom and World of Beer not reopened? Of course, World of Beer permanently closed, but that location is just a fantastic one for a food and beverage entrepreneur pursuing an entrepreneurial dream. Alex Urpí is our guest. It's earnings week on Wall Street. We'll take a look at some of the big-time companies and the earnings that they are posting and releasing, what to expect from Wall Street moving forward. The market's been green, and it's been green. Portfolios are growing after a very tough September. I want to ask you this question. Dave Chappelle and Netflix, very much in the news. Dave Chappelle for comedy that yet again is causing controversy. Netflix, Dave Chappelle in trouble, a topic on this program. And of course, we'll talk some Facebook. This show streams on 15 Facebook channels. Literally, as I'm speaking right now, what does the social media giant need to do to rehabilitate its image, to create or recreate the trust it once had with its users? Those topics and more on the Tuesday, October 19th edition of the I Love CVille Show. The lead of the program, however, is college and universities and whether they are worth it moving forward. It's no secret, you know this as well as I, many graduates, 22 and 23-year-olds, are coming out of their respective college or university hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. In fact, many are coming out over $250,000 in debt or more. Can you imagine starting your professional career as a 22 or 23-year-old already saddled with $250,000 or more in debt service payments? That is leaving a lot of folks asking this question: are colleges and the path of higher education the future for teenagers from Virginia to California? Well, I want to tackle that question first. I will offer some perspective from working alongside remodeling clients, from working alongside custom home builders. Folks, the supply chain for working on houses, for example. Tradesmen like electricians, like plumbers, like carpenters, project managers, brick mason. These jobs have never been more desirable or more coveted. In fact, the tradespeople are making more money than they ever have before, and in many circumstances, earning a yearly salary that is more than college graduates. I'm talking $80,000 and more per year for tradespeople. Let's cut to the chase. We are under inventoried in America. I learned this from Keith Smith. I learned this from realtors in the Charlottesville-Albemarle Association of Realtors. We have 5,500,000 households or new construction or rooftops that are needed on the market now. We're under inventoried by 5.5 million homes, boys and girls. Because there's not enough inventory for people to buy, folks are choosing to stay in their homes longer. And the folks that are choosing to stay in their homes longer, at one point it was 5 or 6 years the average before people moved to a new place, a new crib, a new casa. Now 10 years plus before a family, a couple, an individual on average moves to a new crib, a new place, a new casa, a new abode. As we stay in our cribs and our casas longer, this is what happens. They wear, they tear, they break down, and we see the warts and blemishes more often and firsthand. Furthermore, with the work from home culture that is undoubtedly popular now in America and the world, we are spending even more time in our homes. And as we spend more time in our homes, we wear them down. As we spend more time in our homes, we see the warts and blemishes even more. As a result, the phone is ringing left and right for remodeling companies like Charlottesville Remodeling Company. Trusted name in the game, Charlottesville Remodeling Company. Find them online at charlottesvilleremodelingcompany.com. When companies like Charlottesville Remodeling Company have their phone ringing left and right, they start booking jobs and putting them on the calendar. Then they turn to their trusted advisors, their tradespeople, to help manage the projects. Well, I'm going to tell you firsthand. There are not enough tradespeople in the world today. Not enough plumbers, not enough electricians, not enough painters, not enough trim carpenters, brick masons, handymen. Have you picked up the phone because there's a blemish, a wart, or something broken down in your house, and you've been told by a handyman, an electrician, a plumber, we'll get to you when we can fit you in our schedule, but it's not going to be for a couple months? I certainly have. My family certainly has. When demand starts outpacing supply of tradespeople, the current tradespeople are able to charge what they want. For example, we like to paint our house. We have an interior color that my wife would like to improve upon, despite it being in perfect condition, sweetheart. That's a topic for another day. When we call our painters, we have a couple subcontractors that we work alongside. They say the earliest we can get to painting your house is 90 days from now. If you would like it sooner, we're going to 2x charge you, 2 times charge you the cost of painting your home. That right there is called leverage. So teenagers, early 20s, people looking for a second chance at a career. I would encourage the trade route, certainly now more than ever. A plumber, an electrician, folks with that skill set are charging $100 plus an hour, easy, all day, every day, and they're getting bookings left and right. I would also emphasize that an electrician, a plumber, a carpenter, a painter, someone in the trade game, this individual is not coming out of a 4-year rite of passage over $250,000 in debt. Is there sweat equity? Yes. Is there a pledge ship? Yes. Is there an internship? Yes. But that internship, that pledge ship, that rite of passage often means $12, $15 an hour learning in an apprentice role, as opposed to 4 years of going to a college or university where you don't get paid and you come out $250,000 plus in debt. Now, as college tuition debt service becomes higher than ever, you have organizations, you have outfits, you have ranking services like the Princeton Review, who are now assessing the return on investment or the value proposition of higher education. In fact, the Princeton Review, and I can assure you, you will see this on television, you'll see this on newspaper, you'll see this in the legacy and traditional media, literally after I say it right now. The legacy media will cover this story, and here it is. The Princeton Review analyzed more than 650 colleges and universities to determine the schools with the best value, with the best return on investment. They considered tuition costs, they considered room and board, they considered financial aid, academic offerings, career placement services, graduation rates, alumni salary, and overall student debt. Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready to hear where UVA ranks? The University of Virginia, from a public ranking standpoint, number two in America from a return on investment. Number one, the University of California, Berkeley. Number two, University of Virginia, right here in Charlottesville. 3, the Georgia Institute of Technology in Atlanta. 4, University of California, San Diego. And 5, University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. I will repeat that ranking again. The best public universities and colleges in America from a return on investment standpoint. Number 1, University of California, Berkeley. Number 2, University of Virginia, right here in Charlottesville. Number 3, Georgia Tech. Number 4, University of California, San Diego. And 5, the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. UVA is number 2. Folks, that is absolutely impressive. Another accolade for UVA. And when UVA gets accolades, the city of Charlottesville gets accolades. This is yet another national, global ranking that's acknowledging the value proposition of the Charlottesville ecosystem. Whether it's the best place to live in America, whether it's the New York Times 3 months ago calling the city of Charlottesville and Albemarle County the #1 spot to vacation on the East Coast because of our very successful vaccination rates. And now the Princeton Review telling everyone in the world that the University of Virginia offers the second best value proposition from an ROI standpoint of any public university or institution in America. What is this going to do, my friends? Well, this is what we can expect. You're going to expect over the next few years, as the Princeton Review ROI ranking becomes ubiquitous for guidance counselors, for parents and teenagers alike, you're going to see more applications to the University of Virginia than ever before. UVA is a business. They're in the business of making money. As more qualified applicants apply for 4 years of rite of passage in Charlottesville, UVA is going to try to capture one more time. Judah, one more time. The money. And as they try to capture the money, they're going to let more students into college, more students here in Charlottesville, and those students are going to cannibalize the little housing inventory within walking or a short transit hop, skip, and a jump from grounds. That's going to drive up the cost of housing. That's going to make the community more expensive. It's no secret, my friends. UVA is admitting more students than ever before. UVA is hiring more professionals to service those students than ever before. And now that the Princeton Review has ranked UVA #2 nationally from a public university standpoint as best ROI, I can guarantee you, and I don't use that word lightly, but I will guarantee you that applications will continue to uptick, and uptick. And I can guarantee you the university will try to capture as much of that uptick as possible because it's all about the dollar bills, y'all. Private schools, top 5 ranking, best ROI. Princeton University 1, MIT 2, Stanford University 3, California Institute of Technology 4, Harvey Mudd College, and Claremont College 5. I'll give you the 5 from private schools again. Princeton 1, MIT 2, Stanford 3, California Institute of Technology 4, and Harvey Mudd College in Claremont, California in the 5 spot. Best ROI from a private school standpoint. The next topic is a local one. In fact, it's 3 blocks from here. Moe's Barbecue on Water Street, closing and shutting in stores. This is sad news. Moe's, owned by a couple that was absolutely fantastic, that was committed to hospitality, to quality barbecue, and undoubtedly champions of the local music scene. Moe's, unfortunately, got stuck in a construction whirlwind. Everywhere you looked on Water Street during the open tenure of Moe's, there was construction going on. You had construction associated with the Code building. You had construction associated with those parking garages. You had construction associated with the buildings a couple slots down the road from Moe's. And after a fantastic run from Michael Lewis and Mono Loco, I thought Moe's on Water Street was also going to duplicate similar success as Michael Lewis and Mono Loco. Unfortunately, that did not come to fruition. Now, Moe's is choosing to close its doors, and I will forever champion and give props to entrepreneurs that pursue a vision and a dream, whether it has success or does not work. In fact, as Harrison CVille, who's the owner of Multiverse Kitchens, once said on this program right here, Brookville Restaurant and CVille Kitchen were my undergraduate degree and my MBA degree for Multiverse Kitchens, which is my career path today. Similar hopes, similar dreams, and perhaps a similar path for the fantastic couple behind Moe's on Water Street. We admire your efforts, and you will undoubtedly be missed. Now, this got me thinking today on the Think Tank this morning as I was scrolling through the phone and thinking topics for today's show. What are some of the most difficult spots for restaurants to have success in Charlottesville, Virginia? Immediately, I thought of the location that housed and was home to the Tin Whistle Irish Pub, to Cafe Bocce, currently the home to Tonic. At what time it was Carlton's. Carlton's enjoyed a cup of coffee on Market Street before it shut down. Now it's Tonic, the location across from the police station. Courtney and her business partner have revitalized the space, built a beautiful outdoor patio and outdoor bar. They're committed to long-term success at that spot. But we know that spot has had a number of different iterations, and everything I've said is applicable and accurate. I also am perplexed why the World of Beer location has not had more success. Undoubtedly, the rent is sky high on Main Street at the World of Beer spot. But friends, that location has sat empty or vacant for an extended period of time now. How about the Wild Wing Cafe location? That one's been vacant for an extended period of time. In fact, both the Wild Wing location and the current home to Tonic on Market Street are owned by super landlord Alan Kajin, a bi-coastal entrepreneur and landlord that lives in San Francisco and has his hands very much invested in real estate in the city of Charlottesville. World of Beer location, I'm curious and I wonder why that is not a restaurant today that's active and operating. The Wild Wing Cafe location is primed with rooftop patios, multiple levels of service, and vast open space for COVID-friendly dining for success. No secret though, the World of Beer location and the Wild Wing Cafe location, rent is sky high. It's going to take an entrepreneur or a big brand or corporation with cojones and an affinity for risk-taking to open up a business in those two spots. Two more items before the super smart Alex Urpí, the CEO of Emergent Financial Services, joins us to talk earnings week, to talk the tailwinds Wall Street has been experiencing, Netflix and Dave Chappelle trouble and controversy, and how Facebook should rehabilitate its image and recapture the trust it once had with users. Before I get to Mr. Urpí, the CEO, I want to highlight a couple things from UVA. Our football team is sizzling. Our football team right now is in receiving votes of both polls. In the AP Top 25, UVA is in receiving votes. In the coaches poll, UVA is in receiving votes. In fact, ESPN, and I don't agree with what I'm about to say, but ESPN has predicted Virginia football to be the favorite in all of its remaining contests, except for the matchup against the Pittsburgh Panthers, who are currently in first place in the Coastal Division. Virginia football on the 23rd of October, my friends, the 23rd is Saturday, hosts Georgia Tech under the lights at Scott Stadium, ACC Network. The following week, we travel to BYU, at BYU. Then we have a bye week. We host Notre Dame. We travel to Pittsburgh, and we close the season with the Commonwealth Cup against the Virginia Tech Hokies. You have 5 football games left for a football team that is 5-2 overall, and a football team that is in ACC play 3-2. UVA is very much in the thick of a Coastal Division title. Bronco Mendenhall will tell you, the head coach of Wahoo football, that the first goal of the team is to win the Coastal Division. Because if you can do that, you can play for an ACC championship. And if you're fortunate to get an ACC championship win, you're going to a big-time BCS Bowl. Brennan Armstrong, this gunslinger who just turned 22 years old, this red-headed spitfire, this leader that has emotions that he wears on his sleeve, a leader that told a huddle a couple of weeks ago in a dogfight against Louisville. The team was down. Virginia football had to score some points to get a victory. They won it 34-33. In the first play, on that last drive, Brennan Armstrong, the 22-year-old, red-headed southpaw, looks at his boys in the huddle, and he coolly, calmly, and collectedly said, "Aren't we all having some fun today?" Next thing you know, the stress dissipates, boys drive the field, and they clock and lock a 34-33 victory at Louisville. UVA, a 3-game winning streak, and 5-2 on the season. Last topic, my friends. Then Alex Urpí, CEO of Emergent Financial Services. The basketball team, number 25 in the preseason top 25. So let me recap for you. The Princeton review is called UVA the second best return on investment institution in America. Our football team is playing for a Coastal Division title and is on national TV left and right. Our basketball team won a national championship two seasons ago and is ranked in the top 25. You see why students from all over the world are flooding to Charlottesville to attend Thomas Jefferson University, right? You see why Charlottesville has become the Silicon Valley, Palo Alto, or San Francisco of the East Coast, right? My friends, it will only gain in momentum. Judah Wickower, let's welcome our friend Alex Urpí to the program. He's the CEO of Emergent Financial Services. We've got a fantastic chair for you We've dubbed him the Antonio Banderas of the financial service game.
I appreciate that.
We sincerely mean that. The man is sharp. How do you 6'2"?
6, I think 6 exactly.
Okay, so we'll call him 6'2"
Maybe
in those.
6'1". I haven't been measured in a while.
We'll call him 6'2" in those Italian loafers that the man's wearing over there. All right, my friend. I know you are a UVA sports fan, and I know you went to UVA. Princeton review, #2 ROI, public university in America. What do you make of that?
I mean, it's very exciting news. I mean, we've always been extremely competitive on the public school side, as UVA, and it's good to see that keeping pace with a lot of other schools that, of course, are trying to probably catch up in that respect. I mean, so it's always been a very high-class university in terms of the talent that is teaching at UVA, and then the ROI, I think, has always been very good, especially with also, I would say, even the surrounding countryside, because I happen to know the community college to UVA route, and even our community college here at PVCC is just tremendous. So there's just so many opportunities for students to really succeed when they go through the colleges in this area, particularly UVA.
I'm going to ask you this. You are in the business of helping people manage their money. Mm-hmm. You're in the business, Emergent Financial Services, and we cannot say enough about this family-owned business, Emergent Financial Services. You guys, your family-owned business, literally guides people to good decision-making.
That's the goal. It's
education. Wealth.
It's education.
Yes.
To make changes that will help you, either with your goals now or retirement goals.
You educate folks. How would you guide or educate parents, single family, maybe it's one parent household, mm-hmm. maybe it's a no parent household, but teenagers who are literally potentially pursuing over $250,000 in debt for a 4-year rite of passage? What would you say?
In terms of before they go do this process or afterwards?
Before. Would you say do it? Mm-hmm. Would you say trade school? I mean, what would you say?
I think it depends a lot on where your skill set lies. I think part of the issue that I've had with the way we do things in this country for a while now is we push everyone to the 4-year school track, but as all we looked at is that average number from way back saying that you make $1 million more over the course of your entire lifetime. But you have to remember that's the average, which means there's going to be a lot of people that are going to make less than that. And so if you're racking up $200,000+ in debt and you fall on the lower end of that spectrum, in other words, you're not in the STEM, you're not in the engineering, you're not in those really high-earning categories, those really high-earning majors or schools, then you're in the lower end, and now you're putting yourself in a risky position. And my philosophy has always been, don't push people to the 4-year school. There's going to be a lot of students, really bright students, for whom that is the right way to go, the 4 years. And it doesn't have to be a 4-year school.
Tell them your track.
I'm really big on the 2 years of community college, 2 years at a 4-year institution, the transfer route. Because first off, because I happen to love PVCC, I had an extremely great experience there. You get the smaller classes, right? It's about, at least it was when I went, about 1/3 of the price of UVA. This year, there's no tuition at all, but if that goes back to the way it used to be, it was about 1/3 of the price of the 4-year college, right? You get smaller classes, more intimacy with the professors, you're getting your prereqs out of the way, right? And you're preparing yourself for when you make the transfer to a 4-year institution. Now you're just going to go into your major. You're going to say, I've had the opportunity to experience things, I haven't put myself in a huge amount of debt, and now I'm able to go there. So I try to help people think in terms of, don't think 4-year school, think 4 years of college, which might be 2 years at a community college, 2 years at a 4-year institution. And then if your interest lies elsewhere, it's time to stop. I'm with Mike Rowe that I've read. My dad has read his book on work and trade schools. In the sense
Mike Rowe, the Ford guy,
yes,
that dirty jobs guy,
yeah. Right?
He's great.
Saying we need to stop devaluing trade school jobs because you know what? First off, they make good money, plumbing, electrician. There's good wages to be made in those jobs, and I would say very much so. Those jobs cannot be automated away. No one's going to have a robot come into your house and do your plumbing or fix your electricity. You want a person coming in. So those jobs, you can't automate those away. So if someone leans in that direction, rather than pushing them and say, no, you need the 4-year school because it makes $1 million more, well, no. If you can get into a really good paying job through a trade school rotation. And there are scholarships for that. Often people don't know. I happen to sit on the board of the Charlottesville Scholarship Program. So we provide scholarships to students, a lot of CHS students within the city of Charlottesville limit. I can't tell you how many people don't know that trade school counts for that scholarship program.
I didn't know that.
If you come and you say, I'm planning to go into certified trade school, that you can apply for a scholarship to do that. So many students just think, I can't bother, I can't get a scholarship unless I'm going to a four-year institution. Not the case. There are scholarships. There's one right here in Charlottesville where if you're going to a trade school, you can get a scholarship to help you go through that route. And then you can not saddle yourself with as much debt. And if that's your path in life and that's what you're good at, there can be a great career there that we don't have to devalue just because it doesn't come with a BA attached to it.
Well said. Alex Urpí, CEO of Emergent Financial Services, certainly now more than ever. Last question on this topic. You're a man that assesses macro and micro trends and uses that, that knowledge to make smart decisions. Mm-hmm. We have a country that has 5,500,000 units under inventory. We have a micro ecosystem in Central Virginia that clearly does not have enough homes for sale, in a very unbalanced real estate market, as we learned from Real Talk. Mm-hmm. When you don't have enough homes for sale, that means people are going to stay in their homes longer. They're going to beat up their homes more than they ever have, mm-hmm. and they're going to see those warts and blemishes and the breaks and fixes that needs to get done, and they'll call an interstate service company to get the problem solved. A home's best friend.
Absolutely.
It seems to me that the value proposition of a tradesman has never been better than right now.
Oh, I agree. I agree completely. I mean, you're talking. That's something you will always need, because even if things were going better, let's say you were having frequent home sales and turnover, right? The person who moves into that home, the home's going to age the same. So if I'm moving into a brand new home and something needs to be looked at, either the previous seller or myself is going to have to call in someone to fix it. A 10-year home is a 10-year home, whether I've been living there for 10 years or whether I just moved in now and someone else was living there for 10 years. So you're still going to need to call in. Again, like you say, you'll probably notice it more when you've been living there for a while and be more inclined to do something about it if you see yourself living there longer into the future. But I think those are the kinds of career paths that, unfortunately, I think we discourage as not being prestigious because it doesn't come attached to a brand name. I mean, I couldn't even name you a brand name certification program for electricians. I can name you a Princeton report list of four-year universities, but there's no brand name. So we tend to dismiss it as not being, okay, I want something else for my kids. But in reality, those can be extremely profitable careers, especially if you then go your path of turning into your own small business. Now you have huge opportunities to get your retirement in order. So instead of having a bunch of debt at the end of this cycle, you're now building for retirement in your 20s instead of paying off debt in your 20s and starting to build for retirement in your 30s, and that's a huge difference, those 10 years.
Alex Urpí, guys, CEO of Emergent Financial Services. Earnings week for so many companies. Mm-hmm. Tesla reports. You had Johnson & Johnson report. You have a number of different firms reporting earnings this week, and a lot of folks beating some estimates here. I'm going to start open-ended with earnings week and what you at Emergent Financial Services are watching. Then I have some specific questions for you as well.
Absolutely. So, I mean, it does seem, at least today, so far, first 2 days of the week, we are looking at some positive beatings of estimates. And really, that's always the key for earnings week. But I tell people to look at, it's not the expected earnings. Expected earnings is already baked into the price of the stock before the earnings come out. What changes the price of the stock up or down is whether you beat the earnings expectations or whether you fell short of them. And then it's the expectations, because a lot of times you'll see on earnings that in a previous quarter, company will come out and say, we expect this earning next quarter. By the time that comes around, a lot of analysts are already guessing whether they're going to beat or fall short of those earnings. So it's the changes above that really determine whether the stock moves. In other words, Johnson & Johnson having a great day today, not necessarily because they beat earnings, but because they beat the expectation of what their earnings would be.
By 25 cents per share.
25 cents per share.
Johnson & Johnson, Procter & Gamble, Walmart, Snapchat, Netflix reports after the bell today. You following the Netflix Chappelle fiasco?
I am. It's interesting to see what's happening there because Netflix, of course, they prided themselves on recent years of being willing to go places no one else would go. They had the controversy with the French film with the underage girls. And they defended that to the zoo and said, no, we are willing to go where nowhere. So this is a bit of a test for do they mean that or do they only mean it in certain circumstances?
Well, what do you think? So the co-CEO has said what we air on Netflix and what airs on screens does not impact human behavior. In fact, co-CEO Ted Sarandos wrote in a memo that Netflix, quote, has a strong belief that content on screen doesn't directly translate to real-world harm, end quote.
Interesting.
Do you buy that?
That's a tough question. I'm not sure. I think there are some cases where it could. I do buy it in a sense. I do think my suspicion is that I think culture and behavior tends to drive what appears on screen more so than the other way around. I mean, granted, a steady stream of propaganda over a long period of time
is going to brainwash someone.
Is going to change opinions.
Yeah.
But my suspicion is one-off things either people choose to watch or they choose not to watch. If there was a steady stream of something coming out on Netflix that was intended to change human behavior over a long period of time, I could possibly see that happening. But one-off comedy specials, I can't imagine people are watching and being changed by that. My suspicion is people are self-selecting into whether you either like his style of comedy, which to be fair, I have not watched him. I've never seen his comedy, or you don't like his style of comedy.
So Dave Chappelle is utilizing transphobic material to make comedy on Netflix aired content. So here's the last question on this topic here. Is this enough to push a sizable subscriber base away from Netflix? Very similar to cutting the cord with cable. People flooded to streaming, and the market share dominant streaming service is no doubt Netflix. Okay? And while I find Chappelle's comedy and this transphobic content disturbing and I find it disgusting, and I think in retrospect we're going to look back 10 years from now and really be even more appalled than we are today. I do not believe that this will push people to unsubscribe from Netflix.
Me neither. I do not. People, let's face it, not to be a cynic, right, but people have had numerous opportunities for years to vote with our dollars. We talked about those time in terms of where our goods are made. People have been talking buy American for as long as I've been growing up, and people don't do it. Because when push comes to shove, they say, I want to see this, and it's only on Netflix, and I will pay what is it now, $7.99?
Yeah,
$7.99 a month to see it on Netflix, and I won't watch the one that I don't want to see. And my suspicion is I do not see a huge cord cutting.
What subscribing services do you or your family pay for? What streaming services, excuse me?
Literally the only streaming service we have is Amazon Prime.
Is it Amazon Prime?
But
so no Netflix?
No Netflix.
Wow. Okay. Why Prime? Because
we already had it for the shipping and Whole Foods.
Got it. So we have, and this is crazy to say, we are paying for Netflix, Prime, Amazon Prime. We are paying for HBO Max. We are paying for Epix, EPIX, that's 4, and Showtime. So
along with cable, or are you?
We don't have cable. No cable. So
cable.
we cut cable.
Okay.
And we don't have a home phone. We use our cell phones. Okay. So, and obviously we have internet. So 5 streaming services. I have this conversation. I think about this often. We cut cable to save the money because the content wasn't as appealing, and Comcast had us by the you-know-what.
Yes. Once the little 2-year deals are over, they
have you by the you-know-what.
Yep.
Okay. But then we add $8 a month Netflix, HBO, I'm not even sure what is, Prime.
HBO Max is, I think, 12.
It's pretty substantial. Now, HBO, as far as I'm concerned, has the best content out there. A lot of Netflix, for lack of better phrase, is like a Chinese food menu where there's so much right there that you can't find anything, that you get overwhelmed. And we have Disney. I forgot Disney for our son.
And Disney is not cheap.
It's not cheap. So was that 6?
That's 6 now.
That's 6. So we're flirting with the price of what we were doing with Comcast. I mean, that's something we got to reconsider right there. All right, so questions coming in for us. Kevin Higgins. First, Kevin Higgins, I'll get to yours. Lisa Costello, I'm going to get to yours here. Vanessa Parkhill, I will get to yours. Lisa Costello says, tradespeople often make more than those with a college degree. To test this, call a plumber to one's house. Well said, Lisa Costello. They cost an arm and a leg is what she's referring to. Lisa also leaves a second comment. Unless one is from a wealthy family who can write a check for their tuition or on full scholarship, it makes sense to go to community college first. Why graduate with hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt for the exact same degree? Can you put in perspective, you're a money guy, the monetary savings? You said 2/3 less. At the time
I went, it was 2/3 less. So basically, PVCC was 1/3 of the price.
How much? Do you remember the dollar amount? And what are you? You're 20.
I'm 29 now.
29.
So I graduated.
So this was about 10 years ago.
2014. So this was. So I was going to PVCC in 2010 and 2011.
Okay, got it.
Fall of 2010.
Okay.
Fall of 2011. I believe at the time.
Do you know this answer, the closer, Xavier Urpi? Let us know.
He might.
I bet you he does.
He probably does.
Yeah.
I believe at the time UVA was 14 a semester.
Okay.
And
so we're talking 26 total.
26 total.
For a year, and that's just tuition.
And that's in-state tuition.
Okay.
And then I think PVCC was 4 or 5. I'm trying to.
A semester.
A semester.
So you're talking.
PVCC and PVCC is not a cheap school in terms of community colleges, but it's obviously you're getting a lot of quality out of being a local community college.
So when he went 10 years ago, the first 2 years, PVCC was 8 to 10 tuition, 8 to 10,000 tuition a year. Oh, the Xavier is here. Thank you, closer. Thank you, closer. Xavier Urpi. I love you, Xavier. You know I do. He said PVCC was $5K. Okay. So is that $5K a semester?
I think a semester.
$5K a semester. So that means $10,000 for you
for a full year.
For a full year tuition. Versus UVA was 26. So you're talking a $16,000 savings, and that's times by 2 years.
By 2 years.
$32K.
$32K.
For the classes, and I'm not going to call them the fluff class, for the, how would you characterize this? The prerequisites,
the ones that you would have to take. And the difference is, because I did end up taking one prereq class, just as an example. I took macro economics at PVCC, and I took micro economics, both 101 levels. I think they were 201, 2020 at UVA. So I took micro at UVA, macro PVCC. PVCC, 30 people in the class. Got to know Professor Mahmoud Motimzadeh. Great Mahmoud Motimzadeh, great professor there, teaching economics, 30 people in the class. At UVA, as much as I loved
Ken Elzinga. I took that class.
500 people in that class.
Right.
I never met Ken Elzinga.
You say hello to him
when you walk in. They would hand out cookies at his office hours because you knew you'd have to wait for a while.
Yeah. Ken Elzinga did not know my name in that class, had no idea who he was, and probably why I was not as focused as I should have been in your class, Mr. Elzinga. So you did $10,000 a year, $20,000 for tuition at Piedmont, versus 1 year at UVA would have been $26K. $52K. You saved $32,000 in the first 2 years for the same classes.
Because I mean, let's face it, your expertise level, right, where a university like UVA is going to really thrive in terms of the teaching ability, is when you get to those 300, 400 level classes. Because now they're in the thousands at UVA, 3,000, 4,000 level classes. Because now you're talking the professors that have been there for a while. You're in more smaller seminar-like settings, right? You're getting experience of professors who have been tenured, have been there for a while. When you're in 1,000, 2,000 level classes, your discussion sections, not only your discussion sections are going to be run by TAs, but sometimes your classes are going to be run by graduate assistants, right? You're going to get, if it is a major professor like 10 Elzinga, you're going to get a 500-person class, because they're not going to, which makes sense. You're not going to take 10 Elzinga and make him teach 10 30-person classes.
He can't teach 20 hours a day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's only so much time he has to go around, because
Yeah.
he's now, don't forget, once you reach that higher echelon of professors, they're also now publishing.
Yeah.
Because they have to keep
He's
up with the
doing research, and
university.
he's at boards of companies.
Exactly. I mean, I think he was an expert in the beer industry. So, I mean, he was advising major companies at the time, which builds his prestige and makes it worthwhile to have him as your professor, right? But that means he's not going to be there teaching 20 classes. So you need to put 500 people in his class. So you're for the early level classes, I don't really feel that there's a detriment in quality to going to a community college. If anything, perhaps the opposite, right? And then you get to build that, and then you transfer. And you know, plus you have one thing I would highly recommend. You have the guaranteed admissions program.
Yeah, explain this.
So a lot of people don't know about
They
this.
don't know
I
this.
didn't find out about this till there was a great admissions officer at UVA that told us about it. And basically, if you go to one of the state community colleges and you maintain a B+ average and you take certain prerequisites, so you have to make sure, I think you cover the writing intensive and the non-Western perspective, which there are many ways to cover it. I went with Eastern religions and philosophy. I think some of my brothers went with African American literature, fantastic course at PVCC. And so you have a non-Western perspective and a couple other classes. And when you fill out that common app, which all the college students, the high school students will know what I mean when I say the common application, there's a little box on UVA that you fill out the whole application, you still have to write the essay, and you check this little box that says guaranteed admissions. And you are guaranteed admission to UVA. Or I think there's other participating schools. So I think William & Mary is another one. I don't know about Tech, but UVA for sure is one of them. So it just takes, imagine the stress to take out of your college application process that you've gone to a 2-year community college, you then apply to go to UVA, and if you have maintained your average and you have taken the prereqs you need to take, you check a little box, and I sent it in and I said, I'm done. I don't care. I mean, I had to write the essay anyway,
Sure.
but I don't care what they think of my essay, because
You're guaranteed.
I'm guaranteed admission.
Dude, right? Alex is dropping knowledge bombs. Parents, listen to today's show and play it with your your teenager, and listen to a man who did it himself.
Yes, and be clever with the scholarships. A lot of scholarships you can defer. Charlottesville Scholarship Program, we've had some really clever scholars that come through our program. Defer your scholarship through your 2 years of community college, especially this year, right? If you're doing a PVC this year, or in future years where you get a tuition advantage or a tuition, and now in this year it's totally gone. But even if you get like a FAFSA or something else, you defer your scholarship, and now you can use it all at your 4-year and save yourself on the 2-year, because you're going to a 2 in community college. So there's so many ways you can adjust and be financially savvy as you go through the college process, if you decide to go that route of 4 years of schooling rather than a trade school.
I love it. Alex Urpí, CEO, Emergent Financial Services. My friend, a few more topics for you. Kevin Higgins, when you are ready, do you think this country's supply chain issue becomes a global economic pandemic or problem? I think we have another round of last year's COVID-type economy market coming, and it could be even worse as we move forward. Kevin Higgins, I love when you watch the program. So I'm gonna tighten this question. Supply chains are pinched everywhere.
They are.
I mean,
I don't know if you've seen the photos of how many ships
Yeah.
are waiting off the port of LA.
dude, my wife was talking to me about this morning, and my grandparents, Trey's grandparents, my son's grandparents, so my parents and my wife's parents, literally over the last couple weeks, with a sense of urgency in their voice, are like, we have to figure out Christmas presents. We have to figure out Christmas presents. There might not be presents on the shelves.
I know.
We have to get them now. Literally, both sets of parents. So Kevin says, supply chain, does this become a global economic problem?
It is becoming a worry. tough to say on the global, because I have to say I don't know enough about how this is affecting other countries. It certainly seems to be. The U.S. right now, I can definitely say it's becoming a United States problem in terms of the national economy. And I suspect, like they always say, when the United States sneezes, the rest of the world gets a cold. So when the United States is not doing well, the rest of the world is going to struggle economically as well. So take what I say now about the national economy and extrapolate it to a global scale. But the issue that Xavier's seeing, that I am seeing as well, is that this is beginning to trickle into consumer behavior, meaning the supply chain issues are causing consumer confidence to decline, right? They are causing consumers to be worried. That is never good when you have an economy that is based 70% in consumer spending. That's what makes up 7/10 of the entire economy. So you don't want to see that. You don't want to see producers beginning to get nervous, cutting back. We keep hearing that this is something that is normal on the demand side, but it is not. I mean, we can't fool ourselves here into the notion we're not even back to pre-pandemic levels. And last I recall, in January of 2020, we did not have supply chain issues. So this is a serious issue that cannot just be blamed on higher demand because we're coming out of a pandemic. This is serious issues in terms of staffing at places, in terms of transportation, being able to get from one place to another. It goes even beyond really the price of oil. Price of oil is a major contributor, but it goes beyond that because we had oil approaching $100 a barrel in early 2010s, and we did not have supply chain crunches like this. So this is something that really needs to be taken a hold of and make sure that we solve this problem. And I think inflation has a lot to do with it in terms of pushing down consumer confidence. What worries me is just the story you told now with the grandparents, right? Because I always tell this is the typical inflation story, right? If you think that goods are going to be, the Christmas presents are going to be more expensive or harder to get 2 months from now than today, what are you going to do?
You're going to flood it. It's the whole toilet. It's the toilet paper thing during the pandemic.
Exactly. And what does that do to the price of those goods today?
It's going to make them all go up.
Exactly. So you get the nasty inflation cycle where
God,
the expectation of inflation causes inflation.
Love this man. I love this man. Say that. Explain that again.
So what a lot of people don't understand is that the expectation of inflation causes inflation. In other words, if I think that Christmas presents are going to be more expensive a month from now, what do? I would go out and buy Christmas presents today. If everybody goes out and buys Christmas presents today, what happens to the price of Christmas presents? It goes up. Because you just increase demand and you did not increase supply, price goes up. And before people say, well, that's price gouging, no, it's not. That's how you don't end up with shortages.
Exactly.
Like price going up is the market's way of preventing shortages. Because if the price doesn't go up, then you just run out of things.
So if we really want to solve this, we'd be patient.
You would be patient, and ideally the supply chain would catch up so that entrepreneurs would look and say, hey, everybody wants their Christmas presents, let me make some more.
Yeah, and be opportunistic.
And the fact that that's not happening is an external fact. In other words, what we're seeing here is not the market internally functioning improperly, right? The market is giving us the correct signals. The market is saying there are not enough goods to meet the demand of people, so price is going up. But there is an external issue in terms of supply reacting to push the price down again. But the supply is not reacting. People can't get the goods where they need to go because of, it's everything from the porch to the postal office. I don't know if you've been having the same mail issue that we've been having here. So there's an issue of getting goods where they need to go and an issue of getting the raw materials needed to create those goods in the first place. And that is an external problem.
Alex Urpí, CEO, Emergent Financial Services. Alex Urpí, CEO, Emergent Financial Services. Xavier, the closer, Urpí, has got some comments. Judah, you need to go to a two-shot there. You only have it on the one shot. Thank you, Judah Wickower. This is why Xavier Urpí says, this is why the U.S. needs to begin to manufacture in this country. Otherwise, we are at the mercy of other countries like China.
Oh, that is absolutely true. As we kind of learned this lesson last year with medical supplies, you do not want 90+% of your medical and testing supplies to be made in China. I don't care what country it is. You don't want your medical and testing supplies to be made in any country other than your own, because you do not know when you're going to have a global pandemic, in which case everybody's going to want those supplies and you want them to be made at home. And I think I think my dad's exactly right. What you can extrapolate there, you can also extrapolate to other essential goods and services. And I'm not saying there's not a time and a place. There are certain countries that will make things better than others. Italy is very good at olive oil. Very happy to get olive oil from Italy. But if you're talking about things you absolutely need, your chips, your semiconductor. I mean, there's a major semiconductor shortage.
Yeah.
The problem is almost all of our semiconductors come from Taiwan. And Taiwan is in a very nervous place right now.
Taiwan Semi
is a major producer. And you do not want all your necessary goods to be made in one place. There are certain things you don't have a competitive advantage, right? Italy will always be better at olive oil. Florida will always be good at oranges. There's going to be countries that can produce things better than other places. French will always, and the Spanish will always be good with their wines. But when it comes to certain necessary goods that you need to have, certain resources you need to have to run your economy, you do not want to be in a situation where you need to be constantly importing those from other countries, especially countries that may not be your friends.
Dude, and for those that do not, for those that are uncertain about the impact or influence of chips and what they have in the economy, try turning your car on. Every car that's being produced today is essentially a computer.
It is.
It is a computer. Mm-hmm. So when you have a chip shortage, you have some serious issues going on here. All right, so a lot of comments coming in. Let's get to Vanessa Parkhills. And Vanessa Parkhills will tie into Nicholas, your brother's comment. We love when you watch the program, Vanessa Parkhill.
Thanks for watching, Vanessa.
Yeah, she's amazing. Vanessa Parkhill is
always great questions.
She's an entrepreneur. She's a numbers individual. I believe, is it bookkeeping service, Vanessa Parkhill? I believe it is. She says, I've seen some of the recent Chappelle show. He actually tells a story about a trans comedian he was good friends with and invited to open for one of his shows. Let the viewers choose the content they want to watch. And she adds to Alex Urpí's comment, I believe guaranteed admission applies to all VA state schools when coming over from Virginia Community College System.
Mm-hmm. I think she is correct.
I think she is correct on that as well. Nicholas, do you think that living in a free society is the difference where people who appreciate it will watch it and people who don't won't? So Nicholas, like you and like the closer, you guys are free market guys.
I'm afraid people tend to vote with their dollars. And that's how I think a lot of decisions get made there.
See, where I'm torn on this, and this is partially for the sake of a talk show, and this is also me being torn morally. Does the Fortune 100, 200, 500 company, all the way down to the mom and pop shop, have the responsibility to put morality ahead of profits? And then the second portion of what I'll throw to you, Netflix is a publishing service, just like Facebook.
Not quite. Well, Facebook has certain exemptions.
I'll throw it to you. You're right.
Publishing.
All right, and you're right about that. Facebook 2 Sundays ago was catching serious heat from a whistleblower on 60 Minutes, and this whistleblower emphasized that Facebook's algorithm was pushing atop news feeds content that was divisive to drive metric engagement, because as people liked and shared and commented on content, that made page views happen, which Facebook was then able to monetize said page views to drive shareholder value.
Absolutely. And I'm not disputing, I think companies and people do have the right to do what they think is moral, right? Obviously, what Netflix is looking at here is they're viewing this as something of questionable morality. In other words, some people will believe it to be immoral, some people will believe it to be moral, rather than something that Netflix itself has taken a decision that this is so completely beyond the pale that we will not do it. Because I think every publisher, I will bet you there are ideas that have been proposed to Netflix that Netflix has said,
Oh, for sure.
I won't make this.
We can't do this.
I'm not making this idea.
Yeah.
Because there's so many ideas that pop
Sure,
up out there.
of course.
And there's probably some movie makers that said, we want to do this super gory disaster thing, and Netflix is like, no, I don't want to do this. Right? So I'm sure they're making those decisions every day. When it comes to something like this, obviously they have made the decision, this is a matter of questionable, therefore we will let people decide whether they want to watch it or not. And I think that's within their prerogative to do. Facebook that is a bit of a deeper question, as I know the same whistleblower also said they have internal data that Instagram is proving very detrimental in the entire way it functions,
especially
for young girls,
teens,
for young women, young girls, teens, right? That the entire way that the whole algorithm is set up is proving detrimental, and yet,
because the young girls, and I don't mean to interrupt him, and go back to you, the young teens who, lack of better phrase, don't know any better, think that every picture they see is in fact natural beauty instead of filtered beauty that, let's cut to the chase, somebody on Instagram is going to look like a Picasso when in real life we just don't look that way.
Most of us don't look that way, and it's curated life, right?
Curated life.
You see curated snapshots of other people's lives that have only their best moments and never their worst moments, and then young girls. Everyone can do this. Young girls and anyone then extrapolates that and says, oh, my life must be really bad in comparison because I have all these tough moments in my life and this person only ever has great moments. And it's curated. It's not their actual life. They're going to have moment warnings where they wake up and they feel terrible, but they're not going to put that on Facebook and on Instagram. Right? And yet Facebook is continuing to work on Instagram for kids. And so those are where you get into issues of I think Facebook's challenge that they're going to have to reckon with is the entire structure that they have put together in fact detrimental to society? And that's what they have to deal with, I think, on just a whole level of, and an existential level, not to use a big word, but in terms of the way that they run their entire company, because that's not even a question of what do we want or not want on Instagram. That's a question of, because I mean, most of these things that we're talking about that are detrimental to young girls, it's not like there's a specific image that, if we just got rid of that one Instagram, if we just got rid of Kim Kardashian on Instagram, everything would be solved, right? This is an entire algorithm, the way that the algorithm then draws you deeper and deeper.
That's right.
Into things, and it's letting the computers begin to tell you what to watch, rather than you.
We don't even plan what we're going to talk about anymore on this segment, Alex and I. He comes in here at 12:50, uncertain what is going to be on the radar, and yet he hits grand slams every time. Nicholas, your brother, says the audience score for the Dave Chappelle show is 95% on Rotten Tomatoes. 95%.
I did not know that.
The critics are at 43%. So that's nearly a split. That's good information right there from Nicholas Urpí, the CMO. Xavier says the number one reason for current inflation is oil prices. That still runs all economies. Kevin adds, love when you watch Kevin Higgins. U.S. warehouses are full, ships at sea, limited truck drivers. I think companies will have to stop buying overseas. It's an assembly line that's been shut off. We are in trouble if this isn't fixed. When assembly lines are shut down, companies close. USA is that company. The viewers are smart of this network.
He's
Vanessa,
right.
Lisa, Kevin is right. Kevin is right, absolutely. All right, we have a conference call in 4 minutes, and I want to hear what's happening with Today y Mañana on Thursday. But before we do, and we've touched on this briefly, how does Facebook begin to rehabilitate its image? And a more direct question, recapture marketplace trust, recapture user trust?
That's a great question. It's going to be...
Are you long Facebook as an investor?
So I am long Facebook in the sense that I put them in a diversified portfolio as part of the S&P 500. I would not overweight Facebook, would be my contention. Because I think the issue with Facebook is they really need to decide what they want to be. Because right now they started off their entire existence as basically saying we are a completely open, we're not a publisher. And they did away with a lot because they're not a publisher. Nobody's ever going to be able to sue Facebook and say the Ayatollah Khomeini said death to Jews on your website and you didn't do anything about it. You can't sue him. You can't sue them because yet they are increasingly deciding, you know what, we want, they have gone down the path of saying they want to take a more active role in what does and does not appear on their website, which makes them a publisher, which opens up new questions of, are you responsible if you take these people off? Right? If you say, I don't want this set of views on Facebook, but I'm okay with this set, and this set ends up saying something that's really bad, or someone acts on it.
That's a publisher.
That's a publisher.
That's a publisher.
So now you have to decide what you want to be because you're going to lose some of that libel and liability protection that you've had for a long time. And I think Facebook has to reckon with the impact of the machine that they have created, not specific content on Facebook. I think that's the issue. We too often focus just on this specific content was bad or this specific content needs to be removed. And instead of looking at, no, the whole machine has some serious issues that are going to have to be dealt with in the way it is impacting society as a whole. And Facebook more so than Instagram because the percentage of the population on Instagram and Twitter is much smaller than Facebook. Facebook has a very large percentage of this country that is on there.
Yeah, the world.
On the world.
Yeah.
But I mean, like even in this country, I think you're talking upwards of a third of the country.
Is it more than that?
It's last I checked, it was over 170 million. So I feel like that's third, maybe half. That might be half.
Yeah, 300 million roughly Americans.
300 million roughly. So
and you got to figure of those 300 million, there's a ton that are 12 and under that we have to move or take out because they're too young to be on social media. And there's a ton that's probably on the other side of the spectrum.
Too young, but are there anyway.
Yeah, that's true. And then some that are probably too old that would never even consider doing it. So finish your thought, and then I want to hear today.
It's just a serious. I think they're going to have to really consider what they want to be, and which road they want to go down. As far as the fact that they have this major algorithm that is pushing things in people's direction.
In 2021, here's the stat. In 2021, an estimated 71% of internet users in the United States use Facebook. Now, to Alex's point, that's 71% of internet users and not total population. Dude, you crushed it today. Per usual, you crushed it. Mrs. Urpí, this guy is very smart, Mrs. Urpí. Very, very smart.
I appreciate that. My mom will appreciate that too.
Very smart, Mrs. Urpí. The show is yours. Thursday, 10:15 a.m. today, mañana.
Thursday's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to bring on, it'll be a little panelish because we're going to bring on two different educators that they work with teaching kids, learning to be, how do I put it, just parenting ideas, ways in which to communicate with kids. So two great educators that they will both join us, my dad and I, for that little segment. So we'll have a little talk about what they do, two different related businesses that they know each other. I believe two female entrepreneurs, but Nick will correct me on that if that is not accurate, but it'll be a great show. You'll see some highlights he'll be putting up to prepare for today and mañana. And then, of course, my dad and I will have our little chat at the beginning. We'll see. He's got a number of topics that I think we could go for this Thursday, just as his past Tuesday tips. I know he's been talking a lot about just ways to look at inflation, ways to be saving for retirement, ways to think ahead in terms of get ahead of where the markets and the economy may be going rather than reacting to them. So we'll talk a little bit about that on Thursday at the beginning of the show.
Thursday at 10:15 a.m. Today y mañana. Thursday at 10:15 a.m. Just a dynamite show hosted by Antonio Banderas and Mariano Rivera, the closer, more fondly known as Alex and Xavier Urpi, the CEO and the CIO of Emergent Financial Services. My friend, in fuego today.
Oh, thank you. It's been a blast. This was fantastic.
Truly, truly enjoyed it.
Same here. Same here. Always love coming on.
Same.
And I love the in-person vibe.
Same. I wish you the best. We will see you Thursday. Thank you kindly for joining us. A couple more closing tips. Judah, as you go to a one-shot here, Vanessa Parkhill said, I proposed a social media holiday holiday to my daughter a few weeks ago, something that Facebook does voluntarily across all platforms to promote mental health. My daughter added in it should tie in with Suicide Prevention Day. Amen. So social media holiday, take a brief respite from social media, and this is coming from someone who owns a digital advertising agency. But she's exactly right. Just take a brief hiatus from social media and coincide or tie that in with Suicide Prevention Day, and that would certainly do a lot. Kevin Higgins, Vanessa, Lisa, Xavier, Nicholas, you guys made us absolutely better today. We're truly grateful for your support and watching us. Kevin says, you give us the avenue to make us all better. Thank you, Kevin Higgins. I sincerely mean that, Kevin Higgins. I love when you watch the program. We work hard on this show, guys. We really do. Peace, Alex. We appreciate your support and spreading the good word. That's the only thing we ask in return for this hard work for this network is a like, a share, some questions and some comments, and to tell some friends about the programming we're doing today. Last week we did nearly 25 hours of live and local programming across all our shows. We counted them. Nearly 25 live and local programming. My name is Jerry Miller. This is the I Love CVille Show, where we spotlight and feature the best of Charlottesville and Central Virginia. Thank you for joining us.